cell phone management, down at the bottom of the page. I guess I'm a little vague on what this involves. What I'm looking for is, can these guys, is part of the intent here to get these guys to ensure that we get the lowest rate from our IT or our cell phone vendors? Because Molly caught a real savings that we were taking advantage of there when she was mayor pro tem. And it seems to me if our IT staff is gonna be working on cell phones, if they can help us with that, that might be worth the effort.
And we currently are doing that. I believe right now that Rodney and Ryan are going to meeting with an IT or AT&T rep very shortly to reduce the
Okay.
level of minutes that we have on that.
The state,
That takes care of it then. Last question. On historical information regarding the IT services, great summary. Down at the bottom of the page, you say if cash reserves allow it for this year, develop a replacement capital fund for IT, for technology. I think that's a fantastic idea. We ought to have a sinking fund. That's a major capital expenditure, and it hits you at the times when you least expect it. Great idea.
And I hope to be able to bring that back where council decide kind of policy they want in place. Reserve.
I'll vote for it when you do.
Other questions from council? Eric, did you have anything you want to add?
I'm just here to answer anybody's questions. With regard to the cell phone, we are actively working to try and get those costs down. That's, there was a lot of time spent previous to when we did the contract to include cell phone services, that a lot of staff time spent on managing the cell phones and provisioning cell phones. And that's where we came in, and then now we've got it on board with talking to AT&T. We used to be on Sprint, we went to AT&T, and we're working on getting that bill down.
Okay.
It's a matter of getting, what we need in cell phones as opposed to what we like in cell phones and how much, so we're working on it.
I hear the information systems mantra there, what you need as opposed to what you want.
Right.
Rod?
This last week has been kind of interesting to watch because Paul and I went to a emergency management seminar over in Portland for 2 days, and when you guys started talking here, it made me think, one of the things that they asked us about over there was to check in and make sure that our system that we have that sends our employees their paychecks every month, those types of things in the event of an emergency. Can we go to Camas? Can we go to Vancouver and get those checks run? Those types of issues are we standalone today, or are we set up in a fashion that we can move these things in the event of an emergency? And so that's one question. On the other hand, I really appreciate this week seeing where the employees picked up their phones. And I walked into the police station and Vicki says, Washougal City Hall, may I help you? So I think we ended up with an exercise here that tells us some things. I'm hoping that you sit down with everybody, your department head specifically, and critique what we ended up with after this last week or so. But, what did they take with them? What didn't they need to take with them? But more than anything, I guess I'd like to ask, how can we keep the money flowing through the city if we have to use someone else's system, if ours is down?
If, for lack of a better term, some act of God takes out the server building, do we have a way to use somebody else's hardware? Probably not.
The IT Professionals Northwest is very inventive. We'd probably be a little strained in, immediacy. We can develop a plan, and it's not one of the, we've coordinated between the buildings. If Katrina hits Washougal, it might be a little bit of a different story. I don't know, I don't know what requirements we would need. I haven't looked into it, to tell you the truth. I mean,
Yeah.
we've planned on losing a building.
Right.
And being able to move, or losing a server and being able to have backups. I haven't planned on losing Washougal.
Right.
So, but we can't look into that. I mean,
One step to what he just said though is, and they over and over and over said, put it out, make sure you have a plan.
Yep.
And we didn't have a plan for radon. But if we have a plan, then at least federally, it becomes an issue that they'll compensate us, help us do these things.
I think the police and the fire services have done some of this continuity of operations plan, COOP plan. I kind of suspect from what I'm hearing that the major administrative services have not. Urge you to do it. If I have a background in it, if I can help, I'd be glad to.
Yeah, we've even Trevor brought up today or yesterday the fact that City Hall doesn't even have a backup power generation system. We do in some of the other buildings for certain things here and there, but even for the, as much, we can throw as much money as we wanted at a radon fix. It only works while the fans are going. Fans are only working while the electricity's in the building. Fans go off, we got a problem again. So, again, they're looking at it going, there might be a little hole there. Let's maybe take a look and see what a
This
system's
is
gonna
kind of
cost
neat.
for
This,
this, just in
Yeah,
this
case.
shows us some weaknesses.
I will say that when Rod and I went over and talked to Jim Dunn and Chief Schumacher and Chief Mitchell, that we were pleasantly surprised at how well-developed the emergency planning is.
Any other questions on this item? I did, originally I looked at RJ and said we probably, nothing untoward on IT professionals, we probably want to, at some point, look at putting this out on an RFP just to make sure that we're doing what we need to be doing, especially as we go over 100,000 on a contract. The work the guys did this last week was absolutely phenomenal. I know the staff were absolutely amazed at how quickly they were up in other places and working and how seamless it was and that type of stuff, and there's something to be said for that.
Yes.
There's also something to be said for some of the past history that RJ and a few others had in times when they've changed providers. So that discussion's yet to be figured out for 2011, but for 2010, we're asking that this come back intact.
This is also a good time when you're doing COOP planning to take a look at contracting out services, something like payroll. Because it's easy to call the payroll people and say, repeat last month's, if they're off-site.
That's true. Okay, first quarter updates.
What I'm handing out is very much a draft, and what I'd like to do is come back in 2 weeks with more help with Paul Lewis on presenting this data, and just a chance to really massage and give you the product that we want to show you. This is kind of like what the outline is going to look like, and looking at the first page, your first quarter 2010 numbers, those are actual first quarter numbers for 2010. If you probably see a section in the right-hand corner, it looks like something got cut out. When looking at 2000, kind of doing a 2009 comparison, I started looking at the bottom of my notes and saw some stuff was not adding up correctly. So it was something I'm going to get back with Paul with, and really work this out to come up with a better narrative for the bottom as well. The first thing that I just wanted to show you when you're looking at this, if you look at the first quarter 2010, the very first line is general street and fire funds all together in one. And if you look at that, you see we're a deficit of 77,000. What I want to be able to express to you is that the first quarter property taxes aren't due until